10 years ago, I invested all of my savings, over $100,000 of money I made from modeling, into a food truck. I invested in it because I believed that the business would be a success. And on many fronts, on paper, it was a success. But I felt like an imposter. I had imposter syndrome. And for those of you who are not familiar with what imposter syndrome is, it is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So my imposter syndrome story begins in 2009. It's 2009, and I have over $100,000 I made from modeling. I just graduated from UCLA, and I'm ready to dive first into an entrepreneurial venture. And so my friends say, hey, we're starting a food truck. You want to join? And I say, yes, let's do it. And we happen to just launch at the perfect time. We get thousands of followers on Twitter. It's just right when the nouveau food truck movement begins, and we run out of food at our launch. And suddenly the media is contacting us. They want to feature us. Sunset Magazine, Inc. 30 Entrepreneurs Under 30, the Food Network. Suddenly I'm racing the food truck across the United States on the Great Food Truck Race. We have tens of millions of viewers. And I'm this entrepreneur in the media that is said to be crushing it. I know what I'm doing. Even the food truck race, the Food Network, they say that I went to UCLA Business School. I never even went there. I never went to business school. And so suddenly I feel like an imposter. I get imposter syndrome. I feel like an imposter because we're not crushing it. Despite getting all this media attention, having 50-person lines, we are losing thousands of dollars every single month on our profit and loss statement. And to top it all off, a couple years in, I finally figure out the business model. I finally figure out how to make a profit. And then my business partner and I have a falling out. And then overnight, I lose my identity. Overnight, I lose over $100,000 in savings, all my investments. Overnight, I feel like a failure because my business failed. And I feel like an imposter. And to get through this tough time, I had trouble getting out of bed every morning. It was only the genuine relationships around me that helped me address the imposter syndrome I had and feeling like a failure. My best friends, my family, my husband. And it was through this tough time I was still able to move forward. And I went into another entrepreneurial venture. Luckily this time I was smart and I didn't go back into food trucks. And so I launched a startup in Silicon Valley, and it's doing decent. I raised 6 figures, a small seed round from VCs, and we're doing 6 figures in revenue. And so things are going good, and a couple years in, I get invited to a very prestigious startup retreat. These are where the kings and queens of Silicon Valley go. Other entrepreneurs, they're doing tens of millions of dollars in sales, tens of millions of dollars in VC funding they've raised. And again, imposter syndrome comes back. Do I deserve to be here? I'm such a small entrepreneur. But I decide to go anyways to the entrepreneurial retreat. And once we've built a safe space and we're honest with each other, something amazing happens. These other entrepreneurs who were crushing it to me, they said that they felt like imposters too. They didn't feel like they deserved the success that they got. And that was an aha moment for me. I realized we can all feel like imposters at one time or another. We can all feel like imposters, and it's okay. It's okay. And in a day and an age when Facebook and Instagram are king, it's important to remember that the next time that you see that Instagram influencer with that perfect life and that perfect post, no one can be crushing it all the time. We are not perfect. We are not robots. We are human. And in life, we can go through failure. We're going to have failure. We're going to feel like imposters. And it's only the genuine relationships around us that we build around us beyond social media that can help us get through these tough times and help us address imposter syndrome. So that's what I ask of you today. I ask that you work to build genuine relationships beyond social media, beyond the media buzz, because that's how you'll achieve success. And so this was where I was supposed to end my talk. But a couple weeks ago, I attended an executive education program at Harvard Business School, and I gave a quick presentation just explaining what imposter syndrome was to the class. And it was very interesting to get feedback after the presentation. Someone raised their hand and they said, "Misa, this is an awesome talk. I love it. But will imposter syndrome ever go away? How could I get rid of this? It keeps coming back." And that was a really interesting question. And so I'm going to end this talk with a story, letting you guys know, will imposter syndrome ever go away? And that story also takes place at the executive education program I took at Harvard Business School. There was a woman there. Her name is Tina. And Tina has an amazing resume. She is a leading female executive, a trailblazer in her field. She has decades of experience as a female executive. And when she went in the halls of Harvard, she had a presence, she had a charisma. In class, she always raised her hand. She was always engaging and participating. And when I gave my presentation on imposter syndrome, I noticed that Tina's in the audience. And I think, this is an optional presentation. Why is Tina here? She doesn't need to be here. And so I give my quick presentation explaining what it is, and Tina goes to me after the presentation, and she says, "Misa, I am so glad that you gave this talk. Imposter syndrome is what I am experiencing even right now at Harvard." That was a huge aha moment. My jaw drops. And that's when I realized that Tina's story is extremely inspiring. Tina continued to move forward despite having imposter syndrome. She continued to keep participating. She went to Harvard. She walked with charisma. She became a trailblazer in her field. And so that's what I ask of all the imposters here today. I ask that you continue to move forward. The Tinas of the world, please continue to keep raising your hand. Continue to keep attending the conferences, even if you think you don't deserve to be there. We want to hear from you. And chances are that your voice is important, and you are important to the world. So, imposters, please continue to move forward. Thank you.